You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta and the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Grant McAuley, Jake Mastroianni with you after a sweep for the Braves. Not quite as big as the sweep over the weekend was, but you'll take it. And 2 games is plenty to get the Braves back on the right foot as they won both ends of this 2-game set against the Boston Red Sox. A 5-0 score behind Chris Sale, and dare I say it, a power display from the Atlanta lineup. Well, from a guy we should expect a lot of power from. That's Marcell Ozuna. We'll talk all about that. We'll also get you ready for the 3-game weekend series coming up after Thursday's off day as the Braves and Mets will meet again. Before we get started with that, make sure that you hit that thumbs up button right down there and subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta here on YouTube. You can also subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com with guaranteed fit. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available for U.S. customers. Jake, a pretty good-looking game for the Braves yet again. It wasn't an onslaught of offensive proportions, but the home run ball became a part of what the Braves were doing again, and that was nice to see.
It was nice to see. It's not necessarily the guys we were still expecting to see it from, or I guess we should expect it from Ozuna at this point, like you said, but still, you'll take it. Home run balls coming back to Atlanta. A quick little 2-game sweep to try to set everything right after a tough weekend in L.A. and get some good feelings as you go on the road.
Yeah, and they should certainly have some good feelings after this game, after both of these, quite honestly. You know, you expected the Red Sox to have a couple of well-pitched games, I would imagine. Not the most powerful offense that you were going to run into, but maybe, Jake, in some ways, it's the right opponent at the right time for the Braves to kind of get themselves right, and sometimes the schedule just works out that way.
It does, and we talked about it coming into this one. You know, Pivetta, he's been really good. He was really great in the second half last year. They moved him back into the rotation. He was great in his first 2 starts to begin this season, but coming off the IL, you knew it could be a tough ask for him to go up against a Braves lineup that I know has been struggling, but still just really a tough assignment for him. And he's been a big strikeout pitcher, but only 1 strikeout through 4 innings in the game for Pivetta. And so the Braves were able to kind of take advantage of that, take advantage of him, I think, coming off the IL, maybe just not quite ready for it. But either way, the Braves hitters, being able to go up against, what overall has been the best pitching staff ERA-wise in baseball coming into this series, I think that says a lot for this Braves team and where they are and kind of hopefully the direction they're going. Again, it wasn't an offensive onslaught in either of these games, but the way the Braves have been pitching here lately, you'll take 4+ runs a game.
Yeah, and with Nick Pivetta, he ran into a guy that I would kind of say has been a nemesis of sorts for him. He's allowed 8 hits to Marcell Ozuna. 6 of them have now left the ballpark. That's a great ratio for Marcell. That is not so great for Nick Pivetta, who has had some trouble against the Braves in the past. But for Marcell, we, again, should not be surprised by what he is doing. Another 2-home-run game for him, his second of the year. Just missed a 3rd homer in his final at-bat as well. I thought he had it, but ran out of gas on the warning track there. 12 home runs leads Major League Baseball. 38 runs batted in through 34 games now, Jake. Mark Bowman of MLB.com had the stat. The only Braves to ever have 12 homers and 38 runs batted in the first 34 games for a Braves team. Marcell Ozuna in 2024, Hank Aaron in 1959. That's a very small list and some very good company for the Big Bear.
Anytime you're right there with the name Hank Aaron in Braves history, you're doing something special. And I've listened to them on the radio broadcast. I think it's been done less than 30 times in the history of the game as well. So, he's doing just some incredible things right now at the moment. And you're right, just missed it. That last at bat, it would have been out in 17 ballparks in baseball. So he was that close to getting a 3-home run game in this one, but just got under that one a little bit with a 38-degree launch angle. Had a walk in this one as well. The 3 hard hit balls. It's what we've been talking about with Marcell Ozuna for a year now. And you go back and go to that May 1st date of last year. He has a 160 WRC plus over that time. He's hitting 299 with a 370 on base and a 972 OPS since May 1st of last year. And that was coming into tonight. So just incredible stuff from him. But again, what I talk about when I discuss the turnaround for Ozuna, it's the walks. It's being able to just take his hits the other way. It's not the all or nothing approach that we saw from Ozuna previously. It's just become a more well-rounded offensive hitter that's able to do a little bit of everything. And yes, he obviously still has that huge power.
Yeah, he does, and he's shown that off many times. But I think to your point, this is the Marcell Ozuna that the Braves at least thought they might be signing up for after that 2020 season, because this is what he looked like in the
Yeah.
shortened year with all that power. Obviously, the home runs, the runs batted in, the batting average, took his walks, really complete at bats and complete plate appearances. And that's what we're seeing again. And the fact that he was able to find his way back there after what amounted to two just basically lost seasons is a pretty impressive accomplishment in and of itself. But as you pointed out, he's coming up on, I believe, about 162 complete or full games played since May 1st of last year, and has got to be pushing 50 home runs over that stretch as well. Just in case you were looking for how big that power is, I know all the other stats you threw out there were great, but 50 homers will catch the attention of most people in a 162 game sample size, and Marcell has been catching the attention of a lot of, I'm sure, opposing pitchers. And for the Braves this year, a lot of attention that this offense has needed somebody to come through. He's kind of been that guy. Now, on the other side, I know it's fun to talk about offense because goodness knows we haven't talked about it as much as we'd like to over the past couple of weeks here on the show, but also great to see what we got from Chris Sale. Just a continuation of what's been a very nice start to his tenure in a Braves uniform. I'd imagine that the feelings were a little bit different facing his old club, the Boston Red Sox, for the first time in a regular season outing since the trade anyway. He'd pitched in the American League against them prior to that, but had to be, I think, an interesting, maybe bittersweet feeling of sorts, because I know Chris back in spring training said that he was really amped up to show Boston after getting through all those injuries that he could be back and be healthy. And then the trade happened. So then that kind of transferred over to, okay, well, I'm going to show my new club that I can be back and I can be healthy. I don't think there's any animosity there whatsoever. It's a great opportunity that Chris Sale has landed in. But long story short, and we will talk about this performance a little bit more later in the show, but Jake, it just continues to be exactly what the Braves hoped they were getting from Chris Sale. He seems to be delivering.
He has been. I mean, again, it's even better than I think what Alex Anthopoulos could have expected, what we've seen and gotten out of Chris Sale, and just a credit to Alex Anthopoulos in taking a chance on this guy that the Red Sox were, I'm not going to say willing to let go. I mean, they got a good player in Vaughn Grissom. They also paid a lot of money on the Chris Sale deal to trade him. I mean, and it's just the talent was still there. It was just a matter of could he stay healthy? And that's still a question. We're not even a month and a half into the season, but the results so far and what we've seen, this is still a top of the rotation arm in Chris Sale. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous what he's been able to do for the Braves so far. And yeah, I'm sure, anytime a team trades you like that and they pay a lot of money, obviously, to trade you like that, there's got to be a little bit of juice and carryover to want to show them you could still got it, that they made a mistake in trading you. I'm sure there's some of that, and Chris Sale's a fiery guy and is, even without all of that, on the table, but I'm sure he wanted to come out today and prove that he's still got it, and he did.
Yeah, no, he has continued to just show reasons why the Braves' faith in making that trade is going to be rewarded. And I think the biggest thing, when you looked at the injury history, yes, he had some major stuff, but then it just seemed like a bunch of fluky, weird little things that just kind of piled up and just made things worse for him there. And now with all of that stuff behind him and feeling healthy, having that healthy offseason, coming into spring training with no limitations whatsoever, he's been able to parlay all of that momentum, including, being able to get back on the mound pretty regularly for Boston last year, into what looks like a very Chris Sale type season. 6 scoreless innings, a season high with 10 strikeouts to help beat his old club by that 5-0 score tonight. Braves offense backing him up. It wasn't just Marcell Ozuna leaving the park either. He went back-to-back with Orlando Arcia. Jake, you alluded to it. That's not always the guy we expect to see in the midst of all the big power surges, but just nice to see the Braves offense have something like back-to-back homers again. Maybe remind them a little bit about what they were and what they probably still are and what they can be again.
Yeah, absolutely what we hope to be. We'll hopefully see a lot more of Austin Riley and Matt Olson going back-to-back, and I think that'll happen throughout the summer. But, Ozuna's been hot throughout. Arcia was hot to begin, and then he's been really cool here as of late. So good to see him kind of get that stroke going again. Had 2 hits on the night with the home run, as you mentioned. So that's great to see. But you look up and down the lineup, and we talked about it last night where kind of everybody's contributing. And on this night again, I mean, everybody had a hit except for Ronald and Michael Harris, and Ronald at least had a walk in this one. We haven't talked a lot about Michael Harris because we've been focusing on the struggles of the guys at the top. He doesn't have a hit in the month of May. He has 1 hit in his last 9 games. So it's been a rough stretch for him. But outside of that, I mean, again, it's just another night where you can look up and down the lineup and just about everybody is contributing, either has a hit or got on base, had a hard hit ball, something in that regard. And that's what we're used to seeing with this Braves offense night in and night out. Yes, tonight it was still Ozuna and Arcia, guys who have had moments this year that put the runs on the board, but at least looking up and down the order, you're still seeing just about everybody doing something, getting on base, moving that line. And that's what we love to see with this Braves offense when they're going. And I think, again, they're just still showing slowly signs of getting back to that type of offense.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about how the Braves' initial scoring rally came to be, that Ozuna 3-run homer that almost wasn't. We'll get into all of that. We'll talk a little bit more about what Chris Sale did on this night. And, of course, we still got to get you set for that Mets series that's coming up. All of that is coming your way as the Braves postcast continues. Step up to the plate this Mother's Day as DoorDash has a deal you don't want to miss. Right now, get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB and start Mother's Day with flowers, or surprise her with gifts from brands she loves delivered the very same day with DoorDash. Again, that promo code is LOCKEDONMLB. Download that DoorDash app and use that today. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber and not cash. All the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home those huge wins. ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Well, Jake, let's get in the line score and the box score of this 5-0 win for the Braves over the Boston Red Sox for that 2-game sweep at Truist Park before they head back out on the road to take on the New York Mets, a series that we'll talk a little bit more about as we go along. The Red Sox were shut out on 7 hits, no errors for them. They continue to struggle with opportunities to score. 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position, leaving 9 men on base. Braves, meanwhile, 5 runs, 9 hits, 1 error for them. They left 5 men on base. Winners, Chris Sale, he's now 5-1. Nick Pivetta takes a loss, drops to 1-2. And for Chris Sale, we touched on what he has done and how he has delivered thus far for the Braves in his time in Atlanta over these first, month and a half's worth of starts. But 6 innings of shutout ball, 1 walk, 6 hits, and 10 strikeouts for Chris Sale, 103 pitches as well. He really looked dialed in, and whenever he got in trouble, he seemed to find a way to get right back out of it with a lot of swing and miss.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, again, has been so incredible with Chris Sale is just the stuff. And you look at it and you look at, his baseball savant page from the night, 13 whiffs on 18 swings against his slider. That's a 72% whiff rate on his slider, which he threw the most tonight. He had 20 whiffs overall, the second most on the night in all of Major League Baseball as we record this. It's just, again, I never really questioned the stuff for Chris Sale. It was always there. To me, it's always just been about, can you keep him healthy? And right now he looks healthy, certainly. And again, The stuff is crisp. He's getting those swings and misses, did have some traffic, just like Ronaldo Lopez the night before, but was able to pitch around that and make big pitches when he needs to in key situations. And like you said, kind of always seemed to have that swing and miss pitch when he needed it to get out of a jam. But great job by him. It's 3 straight starts now of giving up a combined total of 2 runs, kind of like the stretch we saw Ronaldo Lopez on earlier in the year. Chris Sale now doing that and doing it in a dominant fashion, and just great job overall, by the pitching staff in this one, and really in these 2 games. Pitching staff has been tremendous, throughout really this entire stretch. While we've talked about the Braves offense being down, probably haven't focused enough on just how good the pitching has been over that stretch. And Chris Sale, obviously a big part of that.
And the words of the great American poet, James Todd Smith, Chris Sale has been doing it, and doing it well so far in a Braves uniform. 2.95 ERA now after today's start. Again, everything the Braves needed. We've talked about this almost ad nauseum every time that Chris Sale has started for Atlanta. He has continued to deliver, the starts that the Braves were hoping that they would get. And when you think about all of the things that the Braves wanted to accomplish with their winter shopping in order to get themselves, I think, a little bit more stable in rotation, yeah, you couldn't have planned for losing Spencer Strider for the year, but I mean, how much more of a master stroke does it look like to have someone with Chris Sale's pedigree come in, show that he's healthy, and be capable of being one of the horses you want to be able to have at your, available to you when you start thinking about what you want to accomplish in October. The move became even more important. And I know, with all respect to what Ronaldo Lopez has done as a surprise to this rotation and jumping back in and having a lot of success, I think there was always going to be a higher expectation for Chris Sale, because he's quite simply shown it over the course of his career that he can be one of the best pitchers in baseball. I don't know that we're asking him to do that necessarily, but he's proven that there's still plenty left in the tank.
He has, but you're right. I think, you go and get somebody like Chris Sale and the pedigree that he has. You're hoping that there's enough left in the tank for him to be that top of the rotation guy. Now, when you had Strider and Fried, wasn't a ton of pressure on him to really be that. He could just kind of be that number 3. And if you get top of the rotation production, then fantastic. Mm-hmm. But now with Spencer Strider gone and you lose kind of that 1-2 monster at the top of the rotation, well, now you replace that with Chris Sale. And again, now you kind of have that with Fried and Chris Sale at the top, and two guys that are both pitching like aces at the moment. Honestly, Ronaldo Lopez has for much of the season, if not all of the season as well. But Sale is the one that, again, you're not going to replace Spencer Strider, but he is pitching like that top of the rotation guy for the moment with the Braves. And you pair that with Max Fried. And again, I take that up against just about anybody's 1-2 in baseball.
Yeah, and they have been extremely good. And again, you can't plan around the injuries, and the Braves have had to deal with it for a couple of years now. But having Chris Sale in this rotation changed completely the dynamics of how Atlanta's dealing with it this year versus, say, last year, where, of course, they were trying to replace 2 starting pitchers, which is a different math equation, which I'm sure they don't want to get into again this year. Now, speaking of all the run support for Chris Sale to win this game, the Braves' big second inning, it had a little bit of help, or the Braves' big scoring, or early scoring, had a little bit of help, because it took Austin Riley beating out a ground ball double play, and upon review, being placed at first base. Matt Olson then with an absolute screaming line drive down to third. No, not really. Right off the end of the bat. I think it was 41 miles an hour, the exit velocity, an infield hit, but doggone it, that guy deserves a little bit of batted ball luck once in a while. Maybe it'll help him out. He's gotten some 2 days in a row because Devers couldn't make the catch yesterday, wasn't going to be able to come in and make the play today. All of a sudden, there's 2 men on, 2 men out. Marcell Ozuna at the plate, 3-run homer, first of his 2 homers on the day. But, Jake, that's a whole situation that, had Austin Riley not been able to beat out that double play, the Braves would have been back into the dugout very quickly, back out onto the field, and Chris Sale would have been back to work in a scoreless game.
Yeah, it's a big play in that game. Obviously, it turns out maybe the biggest play in the game with what happened after it, obviously. And, this game of baseball, you can't ever try to speculate on things would have played out the same way, but who knows, what would have happened differently if he's if it stands or if the Braves don't review there. Look, that's the first inning, and the Braves are going to use their review on that, and you lose it, you lose your challenge. So, I mean, it's obviously safe there, so it's the right call, but you never know with replay, obviously, as we've seen as Braves fans. But just great on Austin Riley. Look, somebody who's been slumping, hasn't been playing like himself, and doesn't let that affect him, in the field where he plays great defense. Although I know he had an error tonight, but also had some great plays mixed in there, and it's been fantastic all year long. And haven't hurt on the base path. We talked about it the night before, going first to third, leading to another run in that game to kind of give you some insurance. And then here, hustling out a ball to get a single or to get on base there and keep the inning alive. And then you're absolutely right, Matt Olson, give me all the 49-mile-per-hour bloop hits that he can get, because that man has been robbed of so many hits over the last month or so. He will definitely take all of them. But yeah, a lot of credit to Austin Riley again with the struggles he's had at the plate. It hasn't affected him in other parts of his game where he's trying to make a difference and come up with moments wherever he can. Another hit in this one. Again, we're seeing Austin Riley kind of come out of that, though, on the offensive side. Yeah,
I think that we are. And yeah, I know he had the error late in the game, but there were some plays that Austin made, particularly in big moments, in order to kind of, I think, quell or at least quiet down some opportunities that the Red Sox might have been trying to put together throughout this one. And we've continued to talk about this all season long, and I guess we'll just continue to talk about it. But Riley, defensively speaking, has really upped his game by leaps and bounds almost seemingly every single year since he made it to the big leagues in 2019 as a left fielder, by the way, in case you forgot, a guy that a lot of folks were kind of wondering if he'd ever stick at third base. The Braves had a decision to make also. Did they want to re-sign Josh Donaldson, let him go? Well, that thing played out, I think, favorably for the Braves, One of these guys is still playing. The other announced his retirement a little bit earlier this year. So I would say that worked out for Atlanta as well. The bullpen able to take care of things. Dylan Lee with a couple of scoreless innings. Braves debut for Ray Kerr as well. He was just fresh up from AAA Gwinnett. Those guys with 3 scoreless behind Chris Sale to close it out. And Jake, I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but after that frustrating road trip, 1-5, a trio of 1-run losses mixed into that, the sweep in Los Angeles, to come home and have things go as well as they did with a couple of wins, and really everybody contributing to those, has to make the Braves feel at least a little more back to normal as they continue to kind of search for some answers and consistency at the plate.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't say that they're all the way back right now, because it is, some of the guys who have been performing in Ozuna and even Arcia, but we're seeing signs towards that. And like you said, just anytime you win, obviously you feel much better about it. But guys being able to contribute in different ways. Kelnick had some hits in this series, big hits, also had some great defensive plays, maybe robbed a home run tonight as well. So I mean, just guys kind of up and down doing things to help you win ball games. And that's very big. Another thing that's key in this one, Chris Sale leaves after 6 shutout. Dylan Lee comes in, Ray Kerr, and nothing. And there's no drama. And you love to see that in these types of games. The Braves have played in so many close 1-run extra inning games here lately. It's had to tax a lot of that bullpen. Yep. I know they got 2 off days this week, which helps, but anytime you can have games like this during the season where you got a pretty solid lead going late into the game, and you can have your 7th, 8th guys in the bullpen come in. I know Dylan Lee's probably more in a higher leverage situation now with Pierce Johnson out, but you can have those guys come in and there's just no drama and they shut things down and save the rest of the bullpen. That's, that can be as big as anything else.
You'll absolutely take it. And then you consider that this 2-game series is wrapped around by an off day Monday and off day on Thursday. So the Braves bullpen, you're right, they didn't have to work too incredibly hard in order to get these 2 wins. And what they did was provide some spotless relief to help the Braves knock off the Red Sox in both of these games. When we come back, we will get you set for the next road trip, although it's only 1 series before the Braves will actually have a full-on regular homestand that begins on Monday against the Cubs, but they got to get through the New York Mets this weekend. We'll talk about that when we come back on the Braves Postcast. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. With baseball season in full swing, don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first-inning runs, Marcell Ozuna home runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Download the app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's LOCKEDONMLB in the Prize Picks app. Well, Jake, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up for the Braves here as they wrap up a quick 2-game stay at Truist Park. They get back out on the road for a 3-game set against a New York Mets club that is playing much better after what was a very slow start to the season, though it's kind of been up and down. They went 0-5, then they went 12-3. Now the wins are a little bit harder to come by, but about a 500 club here lately. That is quite the improvement over a team that kind of stumbled out of the gate, and you had to really wonder with the pitching questions they had if they were ever going to get on track.
Braves, unfortunately, were the team that kind of helped him get going as they won that series in Atlanta, and honestly kind of took it to the Braves a little bit in that series. But they have been playing much better baseball. They just called up the top pitching prospect, Christian Scott, who's going to pitch in this series, and he looked really, really good in his debut. The offense has gotten going a little bit more. Brandon Nimmo is heating up, and he's, you look at his StatCast numbers, and they look absolutely incredible. So it is still a good team. It is still a good team of players. It's a team that I think with the expanded postseason can still get into a wild card berth. It is a team that the Braves should beat and need to beat, quite honestly, especially within your own division. But it's going to be a tough series, no doubt, with the Mets, the way that they, again, have been playing for most of the part. I know they got swept by the Rays over the weekend, but a couple of those games were really, really close, and they won 2 against the Cardinals before it rained out on Wednesday. So they're going to have 2 off days coming into this series, but they came back from behind to win both of those games against the Cardinals. So they're playing with a lot of energy right now, a lot of enthusiasm. Some young kids, like I said, are coming up and contributing for them. Some of their veterans are getting going. It's going to be a tough series for the Braves.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything for them. I mean, clearly you're going to need Francisco Lindor to wake up some. I mean, he was off to a dreadful start to the season, but he's shown that he is still capable of being an impact player. I mean, he was a 30-30 guy a year ago. So you get somebody like that going, Brandon Nimmo. I don't know, Pete Alonso's final year potentially in New York, how much of a storyline that'll be as the season wears on, but they certainly need all the power they can get from Pete Alonso as they continue this as well. And, maybe they're going to get some of these guys healthy in their rotation and be able to put some things together and just make it what I think is looking like a bit of a more competitive National League East in some respects than I thought it would be. I mean, the Phillies obviously are just playing extremely well right now and have moved into first place. The Braves are right in there. Then you've got both the Mets and the Nationals super competitive. The Marlins are proving to be, once again, the Marlins. They just can't help themselves. They had a good thing last year, and doggone it, they just didn't want to keep it. So whatever the case, this is a division that I think could be more competitive in some ways than we expected it to be, even if maybe the Marlins were a team you thought would be based on a year ago. Maybe the Nationals have kind of taken that over from them.
Yeah, it's been a little bit more competitive. I think most people would have assumed it would be a two-team race between the Phillies and the Braves, and it may end up being that. Again, we're still
Right.
just a month and a half in, but Nationals playing really good baseball right now. They're giving the Orioles everything that they could want right now in that series. And like I said, the Mets playing better baseball, and the Marlins, again, don't know what to say about our friends down there and Miami, but the rest of the division looking really, really good at the moment. Could be a lot more competitive than we initially thought.
Yeah, I mean, you just feel for anybody that tries to hitch their wagon to what the Marlins are doing because they're in a perpetual state of rebuilding. But we can talk about them some other time, perhaps when the Braves and Marlins meet again. And that's enough talking about the Marlins. Meanwhile, the probables for this series, it's going to be Charlie Morton in the opener, then Max Fried and Bryce Elder also pitching in the series for Atlanta. Jose Quintana, you mentioned Christian Scott in game 2, Luis Severino, the probable for game 3. And it'll be Charlie in that opener looking to keep what has been a nice run for him of late going. He's 2-0 with a 3.50 ERA. I feel like Charlie is, as you've said, maybe pitching a little bit differently this year, but he's been effective lately. Whatever he's doing seems to be working. Jose Quintana, meanwhile, has kind of had a few rough ones. He's 1-3 with a 5.20 ERA. The Braves have typically been pretty good against lefty starters. At least they were when they were at their best a year ago. Maybe seeing somebody like Quintana will help the offense kickstart things a little bit because you get to switch Ozzy Albies over to the right side of the plate, which is always something that he enjoys.
Yeah, it is. Always love seeing him from that side. But Quintana, it feels like you never really know what you're going to get from him when he faces the Braves. Last time out, he was really, really good against them, or I guess I should say he was good, 5 1/3, 3 earned in that start that he had against them back on April 11th. But, he's given up 5 earned in a start this year, but then he has 3 outings this year where he's given up just 1 earned. So it's kind of been up and down for him this season. And like you said, Braves have generally hit lefties well. I know to begin the season, they were struggling a lot against left-handed pitchers, but hopefully that comes around. They can get to Quintana. Like I said, he's going to be on extra rest because he was supposed to pitch on Wednesday. That game got rained out. They don't have a game on Thursday. So he'll be on extra rest for that one. As for Charlie Morton, it is a different Charlie Morton, but you look at it, 33 strikeouts in 36 innings. We're not used to seeing the K rate down like it is for him, just 22.9% right now on the strikeout percentages, 25.6 last year, 28.2 the year before that. But we have seen him limit the strikeout or limit the walks a little bit more. His whip is down to 1.14. It was 1.43 last year. So again, it's maybe a little bit different version of Charlie Morton that we're not used to seeing, but it's one that's definitely been effective, especially over his last handful of starts where he's been really, really good. And with, the top of the rotation doing what they're doing, Max Fried looks like an ace again, one of the best pitchers in baseball. We talked about Chris Sale and how great he's looked. Ronaldo Lopez obviously has been fantastic. Now you get Charlie Morton going out there. His last 3 starts, he's gone at least 6 innings, giving up 2 earned or less. You're getting that out of your number 3, 4 starter, wherever you want to put him. I mean, it's, again, however he wants to get it done, as long as he keeps producing results like that, Braves are going to be fine.
Yeah, as they say, that'll play. Now, what I heard there was that Jose Quintana is the box of chocolates type pitcher and that you really are just not sure what you're going to get there. I had to sit on that for a minute while we went through the Charlie Morton part, but either way, yeah. I mean, what Charlie's been doing here lately, I think if he can continue that, just quality starts, honestly, for this rotation. If that trend stays going over the course of the season, the long haul, I know there'll be some hiccups here and there. More times than not, the Braves are going to be in a pretty good place, particularly once the offense gets going and these particular players that we're looking at could get going, like a Ronald Acuna Jr. and Austin Riley, who has been showing some signs lately, and a Matt Olson, who's really been fighting it the last 3, almost 4 weeks. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this edition of the Braves Postcast as we get you set for that game here on Friday night at Citi Field. It will be the Braves and Mets with the first of three, Charlie Morton and Jose Quintana, and the weekend will play out before the Braves get home and get to actually maybe unpack their bags at Truist Park the next time. As I said, this will bring us to the end of this edition of the Braves Postcast. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta right here on YouTube. Leave us those comments as well. Share the show with a friend. We appreciate all of that. And subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. Once again, the Braves with a 5-0 win, a quick sweep of the Boston Red Sox in a 2-game stay at Truist Park. Back in action on Friday. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Grant McAuley. We will catch you this weekend. And until then, so long, everyone.